The name of the game is playing really, really good baseball in late May.
We have a motto here that, little things become big things. And if we can take care of those little things, I think we're gonna be all right.
We got to bring it. Expectations are high, and this is kind of what we're used to. This is how I was introduced to Middle Township basketball.
I miss being on the sidelines. I miss everything what high school football is all about. I think it's the greatest sport.
It's not a walk in the park going through our league.
And the message is simple. We want to win a state championship.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Cal One-on-One here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. I'm your host, Nick Kosko. With me today is ACIT head coach Chris Mancuso. Coach, appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know training camp is just around the corner. Summer's been busy, and this is your first year as head coach when it comes to a varsity football program. Brand new program on the docket here for ACIT this coming fall. Please, you're with us, and tell me what it's been like, just preparing for these, over these last 2 years to even get to this point.
Thanks, Nick. I really appreciate it. It's been good. It's been fun. It's definitely my first time starting a varsity football program. So it's been interesting. We're excited for the season. The last 2 years have been great. The school's been great. The kids have been great. So we're just excited. It's going to be I've coached for a long time now, and I've never really experienced even coaching or even playing where it's a whole new program for high school and varsity football within the school community, the families. So it should be interesting. It should be fun. Everyone's excited. We're definitely excited through the kids, obviously, the parents, and then even the teachers and admin at the school as well. So
you are familiar with the area again. You're a Holy Spirit alum, but when it came to coaching, especially for this school, which I believe you're going to be sanctioning in Group 5 this coming season, so you are a big school. It was fascinating to me a couple of years ago when you took over. Again, you guys were just playing JV football. You only had freshmen and sophomores. Let's rewind 2 years ago, because, again, not many people might not know much about the program, again, without having any varsity history to this point. So 2 years ago, freshmen and sophomores playing a JV schedule. What were those first days like when you're putting together this football team? You're recruiting kids from the school to come in, new students coming in. It's a very young squad. You're going against teams that have had programs for who knows how long. And I think in some cases you probably were teaching some kids how to play football at that point, right?
Exactly. No, exactly. Majority being probably like 90% of the kids. Our very first year was the first time they ever experienced playing organized football. So it was definitely a unique situation. Definitely a lot of fundamentals, beginner levels, just really starting with the basics, which is exciting too as well, because we can, instead of just taking over a program, not only implementing the things I want or the things the athletic directors and the rest of the admin want to preach for our athletic programs, but we were obviously just starting from scratch and started from the very, 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 very basics, from 3-point stance and introducing very fundamental drills to where we are today. But it was exciting. I believe the best part about it now, looking back on it, on year 3, going into our first varsity program or our first varsity season, just establishing a core group of kids that like to work out. I think that was pretty much the main goal starting year 1. And, that core group might have been 5 to 10 kids. But, being with those 5 to 10 kids going into that first season, obviously with more than 10 kids, I think our first season we had I believe we had 25 to 35 kids, and that first season was only sophomores and freshmen. And then last year was our second JV season, so we had a team of juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. And last year we were about at I want to say 45 to 50 kids. And then now this is the first season. Not only can seniors play, but we'll have a full team of seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. We'll have a varsity team and a JV team, just because our senior we're going to be a really young team.
Yeah.
So, like I said, from that beginning of the first year with those sophomores, now they're seniors. We probably only had about 8 to 5 guys. So we'll have like 8 to 5 seniors this year for us. And then obviously the junior class will be a lot more than that, and upper class and then the freshman class. But as the years go on, the incoming freshman classes just get larger and larger, and get more. The kids that are coming in, freshmen, are more experienced football players, because like you said yourself, that first season, I mean, those sophomores that were playing, a couple of them even played at their home school because they were allowed to do that since ACIT didn't have a football team. But, they went to ACIT not even thinking that there was going to be a football team ever when they were there. So it's cool. It's nice that established the situation for these guys, and I'm pretty sure everybody loves it.
It's interesting you bring that up, because I go back to when I was in high school as well. You had certain kids that, I went to EHT. Some kids went to ACIT, but they played whatever sport for EHT because that was their home school. When you guys added the program, but again, there was no varsity program yet 2 years ago, and even last year as well. So you mentioned how a couple of the guys that you started with played football elsewhere, and they played for their hometown high school while attending school at ACIT. When the program first started, did they still have the option to go play for that hometown school, or now that because ACIT had the program, they got to play for the home school? I'm curious as to how that worked, considering there was no varsity program yet. So I'm curious if they still had the choice, what did you have to do to basically convince them to say, hey, we want to build something here, we want you to be a part of it?
Right. They did have the option to play. They had the option since the last 2 years being a JV program. They had an option to play for their home school varsity program. So the first season, we probably had more seniors 2 years ago that played for their home school, all across Atlantic County. And then last year we really only had 2 to 3 kids that actually played for their varsity for their home school. So this is the first year that they have to play. Right. We have a varsity program now, but now this is the first year that they have to play. But the last couple seasons, they did have that option to play for their home school.
So when they had that option, and I just wanted to circle back to that, when they had the option, you're starting the program, so you go back to 2022 or even last year where you're slowly building something. But again, it's only JV football. So I guess for some kids, it's only JV. They want to play varsity. When you had to talk to kids that were wanting to play football, did you try to get some of those kids who were playing for their hometown school, but they were still younger in terms of maybe they were sophomores or juniors last year, saying, hey, I know you want to play for your hometown school. Maybe you have been playing for your hometown school. We really want you here to help us build this program. Did you have conversations with certain players along those lines and then give them basically a recruiting pitch to say, hey, stay in this school. We're going to try to build something for our first varsity year in 2024?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I necessarily had to give them a recruiting pitch. For example, we have one student, Yandri Hernandez, that played for varsity for Atlantic City last year. I was probably more of go ahead, play for your varsity home school, get as much experience as you can. We're only playing a JV schedule. We're only playing JV kids. Our program is obviously new, just in the beginning stages. So I mean, honestly, I would like to say that I was an advocate of saying, yeah, get as much varsity experience as you want. Just know, next season, speaking from last year, next season that you're going to have to play varsity for us. So I was kind of more of an advocate to do that. But like I said, the very first year, we probably had more seniors that played for their homeschool varsity team. And even last year, like I said, I think we had 3 kids play for their homeschool. 2 of them were seniors last year that were just playing for the varsity homeschool. So other than that, it wasn't really that hard of a transition for getting some guys that are younger that wanted to play for their homeschool or anticipating to play for their homeschool, not knowing that we were going to start a varsity program. It wasn't that hard of a transition to get those guys to, at the end of the day, they're playing with the guys that they go to school with. The busing, the practice during the season is a lot more easier for these kids. I coached at Pleasantville before ACIT for a couple seasons, and I remember having some ACIT kids that played for us for football, and they would have to get bused back to their bus stop. They get picked up in the morning, and then they would have to either walk home to drive to practice or somehow get picked up from that bus stop and then go to practice, which, by that time it's around 4:30 when this practice is over. So I always felt bad for those kids that had to do that.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So now that they're all under one roof, essentially, I wanted to get to some of the players on the field. Now, again, ACIT is not as well known yet in terms of the varsity program until you guys actually take the field. So from what you've evaluated from the past couple of off seasons, the guys that you have, the guys that are fully locked in now to your program, and what you've seen through the spring and the early parts of summer, who are some of the guys that fans and other people should be watching out for this season when you guys are actually on the game field for the first time under the Friday Night Lights?
Well, Nick, I'm not going to lie. My goals for this season are very basic and beginning level. Not saying that we're not shooting for the stars here, and I wouldn't want to win every game, but we have to get the first down in school history first, or the first points and touchdown in school history first before we can anticipate. But we do have a good solid group of guys. Like I mentioned before, Yamdri Hernandez. Yeah. He played at AC High last year as a junior. He'll be a senior for us. He'll be a running back, linebacker, defensive end for us that, is probably bringing the most experience in terms of high school varsity level and playing for us. We also have David Matos, who's been playing the last 2 years. He came from Ventnor, the Ventnor Pirates organization, and he played with us the last 2 years. We have Josh Goldsmith, who is a kid that played through that organization. Even playing his freshman year, he'll be a senior this year. So his freshman year, he played for Buena High School, and the last 2 years, his sophomore and junior seasons, he's been playing for us. We have a couple other, two-sport athletes in Anthony Catano, who would be the quarterback for us. His first year was last year playing for us. So we do have, a good solid group of guys that, not only is inexperienced, but they just don't have that type of football experience in terms of seasons putting it together. But the drop off in terms with the kids that started with us 2 years ago till now, we didn't have any kids dropping off. It's just more and more kids coming out.
Well, again, you preach fundamentals. I'm a big fundamentals guy, so hopefully if you guys can perfect the fundamentals, then it just keeps building on from there. So I'm excited to see that. As far as I read about this, this is going back maybe about a year or two ago at this point. So, the school itself, ACIT, is looking for more expansion and whatnot, adding extra buildings. A football field or stadium is in the works. Now, I'm curious, as I haven't seen anything updated on that. Do you guys where are you guys playing your home games this year? Is it right at the school at this point, or are you still kind of bounce around until that stadium is fully completed for ACIT?
We're still going to bounce around. The stadium, as of today, is projected to be ready this time next year
Mhm.
with the new building as well. So we have 3 home games this year. The first one being our home opener or the season opener against Vineland. That is at Brigantine, the Brigantine's Rams Field on that week 1 Saturday. And then the 2 other home games right now we have scheduled of where we were playing the last 2 seasons at Leapy Field in Hamilton Township, where the Hamilton Knights play. And I believe the Mays Landing Lakers will be playing this year. So it's about 10, 15 minutes from school. It's right down the street. We get to practice at our school. But game wise, we'll be playing on Saturdays at Leapy Field, and then the first game being at the Brigantine Rams Field. But yeah, within the school itself, I mean, it is really incredible place to not only coach, but to work there as well. The growth that you can see within the school each year is just incredible. I mean, like I said before, not only is the field, but it's going to be pretty much a Group 5 stadium. And then with the whole new building expansion that they are connecting, essentially they're connecting the 2 buildings that are on campus with another building that's probably one of the biggest buildings on campus, connected in. It'll just be all one school with the stadium being behind it as well. So it's a very, very, very exciting time. I mean, even when, we're practicing over at the practice field at school, seeing, the cranes just moving in the buildings. I mean, it's moving along. It's just incredible. Not only, starting a football program, varsity football program for these kids that are coming into the school, but just the excitement with the kids coming into the school itself is just really incredible. It's fun.
ACIT head coach Chris Mancuso with me here on Cal 101. A few more for you, Chris. And again, I appreciate your time. It is interesting to me because you mentioned the growth of the school. ACIT has been around for a while, but again, the expansion just keeps on coming. Then when they announced the intentions of starting a varsity football program, and now that day is here. So it seems like that slow burn almost is one way to describe it. You mentioned how it's been incredible. Again, you've been running the program for the past couple of years, and now it seems like the fruits of your labor are here in this fall. But there's still a lot more to go. Have you felt that type of feeling over the past couple of years, knowing that it's going to be a slow building process to get to something where it's, I don't want to call it sustainable. Maybe sustainable is not the exact right word, but something along those lines. Has that been your feeling over the past couple of years?
No, absolutely. Slow burning. It's going to be a very, very, very slow process. But it's, there's no ceiling or there's no cap. The sky is really the limit. Especially with, the amount of kids that we already have coming in.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, being at the school, working at the school for the last 3 years, and this will be my 4th year, as a phys ed teacher, we were capped out in a very large building at 1,800 kids.
Yeah.
When that bell rang to change classes, you can't even really move in the hallways. So we needed another building because we just were outgrowing, and the building itself is large. So, just the amount of applications that we get for incoming freshmen, our open houses, and then, the reasoning of the influx of students and the impact of so many kids wanting to come to our school is just because the school in itself, with the academics, the education, the teachers, the admin, the facilities, it's just unbelievable. It's a awesome place to learn, and you're getting academics from the highest level, and then that transition from high school to college, it's really just maybe some colleges might be smaller than the actual high school in itself. It's just incredible. I mean, like you said before, I'm coming from Holy Spirit, and not only did we not even have gym class, but it was rather small, moving within the hallways or changing into classes. But I mean, you've probably had the firsthand experience being at Egg Harbor Township. It's just, incredible. And it's a really, really cool place to go to school.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to my high school days. A decade ago at this point, it's like walking through Times Square in those hallways. So I can only imagine.
Yeah, really.
I'm curious about this comparison. Now it's not apples. It's a little bit apples to oranges here, but Cedar Creek was very similar in how they had to start a varsity program. They had that 2-year period where it's just JV, and I think their first varsity season was around, I want to say either between the years of 12, 13, or 14 was their first varsity year, but they had a lot of almost instant success. And you've seen, and I'm sure everybody in South Jersey have seen what they have done in terms of sectional titles and competing for state championships almost right away. But I look at that and say, well, they had maybe an untapped group of kids that were going to, Gammy or Oakcrest, the private schools, and then they just essentially added another school in that district. You guys are a little bit different, considering you are a school that requires more applications. It's a choice school, and it's a technical school as well. So when you look at that, do you take tidbits from how Cedar Creek was able to build their program, leading into their first varsity year, and maybe take ideas from that and how to build yours when you're starting out a varsity program, or is it a little too different?
I mean, I would love to have the success that
Right.
Cedar Creek has, and up until this point, I mean, that's a phenomenal program. I haven't reached out. I believe, Coach Watson was pretty much the facilitator in terms with the success with that Cedar Creek program, especially starting it from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to former Cedar Creek players. I haven't spoke to Coach Watson directly. But I mean, I would love to take that blueprint and essentially do the same thing, exactly what they did. I mean, I've heard, different stories in terms with just, creating a team, creating a culture and creating a team environment where, just the little things and the basics and, the right mentality and attitude that will, create a winning culture in terms with, I guess winning culture is not even really the right word. You have to create that football culture before you can create the winning culture for football. So, again, another unique situation. I would love to, reach out to Coach Watson and take that blueprint of what they did, because I mean, that's just, I mean, they did it right. Like I said, I coached for Pleasantville for 8 years before even coming here. So we ran into those teams that Coach Watson had on Coach Melody who's over there now. And, they just they had that that instant success, but it was, they did it the right way.
Mm-hmm. As far as your staff is concerned, I'm sure it was very unique to build a staff and say, hey, we're only coaching guys that have almost never played football before, JV scheduled for 2 years until we can actually play under the lights and so on and so forth. But you had Paul Sacko last year, again, St. Joe's Hamilton legend, join your staff last year. I believe you only said for 1 more year. Is he back with you guys? If he's not on the staff, is he still advising you? And overall, what did you take away from him and that experience, having him with you guys for at least a season?
Well, Coach Sacko is back. He's just the best guy in the world. I mean, just everything that you can, if you never really spoke to him, I mean, he's just a great, great human being, him and his family. Going back onto what I was just saying in terms with creating that culture and that football culture, I mean, there's no guy pretty much in New Jersey, and then I would even say in America, would do it better than Coach Sacko. Mm-hmm. I love the guy. He's been helping not only, coach, but advising, just everything that you can imagine in terms with starting a program, running a program. I mean, Coach Sacko did it probably the best, in the state of New Jersey in all of sports. And, having him on staff, it's just, I'm extremely, extremely, extremely grateful for. And, you can't match that type of knowledge and just the attitude and, his philosophy, and not only football, but in life. I said on the banquet with the kids before, and I say it a couple times too, but, he just not only does he create great football players, but the principles that he teaches just makes you a better human. And, that's a great program starter and great to have for a program in any situation where you are as a varsity football program. so I love having him on board. I also have one of his former players, Keith Corcoran, who not only did I play with all my life, but he went to St. Joe's. I went to Holy Spirit, but he played for Coach Sacko, that whole Corcoran family.
Yeah.
I have Joseph Handel, who's also a teacher at ACIT. He's been running the Brigantine Rams organization for a while. He's been on board. I have Coach Bobby Riley, who's coming over from GAMI. But it's definitely in terms with, I believe after this season, with the first varsity football season, I will have more of an outreach in terms with coaching, just in terms with, seeing actually a first varsity football season. It's exactly what you said before. It's hard, for someone to commit so much time in terms of being a football coach, high school football coach. But, after one season, it's a little bit easier. And I believe that's the same way with the kids as well, in terms with the incoming eighth graders and stuff like that. And especially when you go, having a field, being a stadium being built as well, that's exciting things to show not only coaches, but incoming freshmen as well. So, I mean, I love my staff. They help me.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And again, just to echo the message, I can't wait to see how this thing just plays out and keeps building from this year, then the 25, 26, and so on and so forth. So you guys are going to be in the Memorial Division this year of the West Jersey Football League. It's you guys, Bridgeton, Triton, EHC, which isn't too far down the road, Cherry Hill, East, and Deptford. So a little bit more traveling this year if you guys aren't really hosting them as well. You'll probably still play some local teams on your schedule as well that are non-division opponents. So I'll leave you here with this one. And again, I appreciate your time. Chris Mancuso with me here on Cal One-on-One. For ACIT to be successful, and now it doesn't, you don't have to give me a total of wins and losses this year, but for you guys to be successful in your mind, in your staff's mind, and then in the kids' eyes, I would say as well, what constitutes success for this first year of football for ACIT? Is it just the effort that's out there, the culture that you were speaking to? And again, it doesn't have to be wins or losses, although wins are always great. What is ultimately successful for you guys here in 2024?
Yeah, just, get out of it relatively healthy. Get a couple first downs, force a couple punts. I guess I've been told before I have a very Belichick approach in terms with, success and goals. I like to be realistic, but the attitude, just keeping, the core of the kids, or essentially every kid on the roster, excited to play football that following season. And, I actually saw, I was watching film the other day on this time last year, and I do that every other season, especially in terms with before we're coming up to August and the start of the regular season. But, I like to see that advancements and that improvements, because I could get kind of, I wouldn't say negative, but pretty hard on myself in terms with where I want our team to be at this point. But watching, like I said, I saw July 11th film this time last year, and just seeing that, that increase of athletic ability in terms with just a different structured and practice. That's what I like to see, not only every football season or each week during the regular season, but within each year, going all the way back into like weight room and strength numbers and stuff like that. And we have been making, very, very significant jumps. And, we can have the greatest coaching staff. Like I said, we got Coach Sacko and, myself, I'm dedicated a lot of my time to coaching, but it just really has everything to do with that core group of type of kids that we have out, and they're just commitment and dedication, and there's just enjoyment of liking it. And that's, I can, have, the ultimate success blueprint into a winning season, but it really just comes down to the kids. And, we have a group of kids that, not only are willing to learn, but are really excited to play and then enjoy doing it throughout the day and throughout the week and throughout the months. And that's, I think that's very important in terms with starting varsity football season, because like I said, we're not only trying to establish a winning culture, but a football culture within the school for the years to go on, because we want this to be a successful program, but not only for, the next 5 years, but hopefully, the next 20, next 30, next 50. And I reiterate to the kids all the time that, this season, no one's going to forget. You have an opportunity and a chance to look back on when you're 60 to 70 years old, saying that you were on the first ACIT football season or varsity football program. And, you guys, I preach it to it all the time that, I can say everything I want. I can give you the greatest equipment, greatest drills, and the coaches as well. But, this is yours. This is your program, and the amount of work and, just the philosophy of determination in terms of getting better. I think that if we can get that group and that core to continue to grow throughout the seasons, that, we won't have to tear down the foundation and restart it over again. We're just building a very solid, sturdy foundation.
I like the vision. I really do. So I'm looking forward to watching you guys this year, getting onto the field for the first time, competing, and obviously just leaving it all out in the field. Then obviously the progress 25, 26, and eventually, of course, seeing that new Group 5 stadium in 2025. That'll be great for you guys and the Red Hawks. So Chris Mancuso, ACIT football head coach, first varsity football season on tap here in 2024. Coach, appreciate the time. Good luck this season. Hope to talk to you down the line. And again, hopefully we're doing this again next year. And you're looking at, hey, we're ready to contend this year, And, come check out the new football field as well. I appreciate it, man.
Nick, thank you so much. And I'm just so grateful for everything that you do for South Jersey high school football. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Cal 1-on-1 right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. We'll see you next time.